This is Saturday Morning Mysteries.
And we're your hosts, Alexis and Grace.
Hello! Merry Christmas Eve to those who celebrate, and welcome to Saturday Morning Mysteries, where we're your hosts. I'm Grace.
And I'm Alexis.
And we are a show, if you're just tuning in, maybe avoiding family obligations on Christmas Eve and just being like, I got to talk with my friends. Boop. That's us. We're your friends.
Hi.
We are a show that recaps crime cartoons, classic children's crime cartoons, as quote unquote true crime comedy stories. So this month we've been just doing any show we want as long as it has a wintry holiday festive theme. We've had a lot of dog heroes in our Christmas season thus far.
They are the heroes of the real world, are they not?
It true though.
Where would we be without them?
Yes, there's both my dogs are just staring at me right now. Talking about us.
They're also possibly the villains of the real world.
Yes. So with that, we'll be passing it to I guess first actually we'll have a New Year's episode, I believe, and then we'll be taking a little bit of a January recovery from the holidays. Yes. We won't have new episodes in January.
Recovery from each other, I thought you meant. We spent way too much time together over the past 12 months, and we're like, can we get a month break, please?
Break
after the holidays. And also because, go ahead.
We say as we've probably in December have just finished hanging out by the time this episode comes out. Literally the night before we were hanging out.
Yeah, I just saw you yesterday per the release of this episode, at least. And per the recording of this episode, I'm about to see you in 2 weeks when you're in town. So
it's true. Yes.
Both beautiful too much time together virtually and IRL. Just kidding. Not actually. We just need to take a little time to catch up on these episodes that are coming out in December and prep for episodes that we want to do early next year, but being the holiday season and our birthdays and everything, it's going to be kind of hard to schedule recording time. Exactly. Yep. So we're going to take a month or a break through the month of January only, I believe. Yes. And we'll be back in February with some amazing things. Arc. Exactly. A new show arc, I guess, season 2. Our season 1 was literally a year long, and we're picking back up in February.
Exactly.
50 episode seasons. That's normal, right?
We can do whatever we want.
No rules. It's our podcast. Yeah. So cool.
With that, I will now pass it to Bird to take us away.
Another snowball in the face. Grace is passing to me. Oh my God. I can't hear anymore.
There's snow in my ear. There's snow in my ear.
It's in my ear. It's cold. Ow. So, we're going to actually continue on with our trend this month, not only of talking about wintry Christmas holiday themed episodes, but talking about hero dogs, essentially.
Oh my God, we are.
We are. So 4 weeks in a row of dog heroes and Christmas themed plots, indeed. And Grace, you said at the beginning that for this holiday themed arc, we can pretty much talk about whatever cartoon we want, as long as it's Christmas or wintry themed. I'm cheating and sticking close to home and sticking close to our roots, and again, covering an incarnation / iteration of, yet again, the Scooby-Doo franchise.
Great. I love it. We're here for it.
But I am doing something a little different in the sense that I'm talking about another Scooby-Doo franchise show that we've not yet covered or talked about on this podcast. It is one of the newer iterations, probably the one that you and I newer, but not newest. And it's probably one of the ones that you and I watched. I won't say the most, but it was the one that we grew up on, perhaps. It came out while we were very young. And this is the show, What's New, Scooby-Doo?
Yeah, that definitely was exactly the one we got first introduced to.
Exactly. It came out in 2002. So we were 9 or 10 years old. This episode actually came out just before your birthday in December. So we were both 9 years old. little 9-year-old Grace and Alexis huddling around, not together, we didn't know each other at that point, but
probably
huddling around
wearing our Scooby-Doo PJs.
Exactly, watching What's New Scooby-Doo. So excited to see new episodes of this classic animated show that we had seen, reruns of that our parents used to watch when they were younger, and being able to actually like experience it new and fresh for the first time. So
awesome.
It's awesome because, and I'll talk about the Scooby-Doo show or What's New Scooby-Doo, in a moment, because it is slightly different from the other iterations, similarly to my last episode, how Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo also is a little different. But first, what episode are we going to be talking about, and why am I so excited to be talking about this episode today, in particular on what will be December 24th per the release date of this episode? Because we are talking about season 1, episode 10 of the What's New Scooby-Doo. I keep saying the Scooby-Doo show. And it is called A Scooby-Doo Christmas.
Okay.
So it is a direct Christmas episode. It actually takes place on Christmas Eve. So it is extremely topical and appropriate. The timing is just perfect.
Good work.
Funny, like behind the scenes story. This was originally the first episode that I wrote for the Christmas arc, whatever that we're doing. And I was like, oh shit, no, I'm up to bat on Christmas Eve. So I'm going to save this for that episode instead. Yeah.
Good switcheroo.
So, little switcheroo that no one needed to know about and would have remained a total secret if I didn't just air it to the entire world. But
too late.
There you go. Too late.
Great.
So What's New Scooby-Doo? I love this show. Again, because I mentioned we actually were kids when we grew up watching it. It wasn't like a rerun. It aired for the first time in 2002. And it is the 9th incarnation of this overall Scooby-Doo franchise that began with Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Back in like 1968. So it is also the first Scooby-Doo series in a decade since a pup named Scooby-Doo ended in 1991. So it interestingly kind of ties in some of the characteristics that the Mystery Inc. gang members were given in a pup named Scooby-Doo, and combines it though with like the original format of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? And of the Scooby-Doo show, where essentially you have the whole gang back together, Fred, Daphne, Velma, Shaggy, and Scooby, and they're just traveling around the country wherever, solving mysteries with the typical format of, What's New Scooby-Doo, the classic chases from the monsters, and every chase or every episode has the big chase scene with the big song and stuff that kind of like sets the tone and everything. But the only difference is that it's straight up modernized. So it's not like the old groovy 60s and 70s.
Yeah,
music.
it's like Blink-182.
Blink-182 and Sum 41 and Simple Plan and like pop rock and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, Mystery Inc. is actually using like cell phones and CD players or things that were more modern for that day and age. So it's like the exact same types of stories, but with modern technology and modern music, essentially.
Awesome.
And I will also say that they were much more respectful to Daphne in this incarnation, where they like actually gave her a personality outside of just being danger prone Daphne, or like, hey, this is exactly. Line. Well, the one line, like, oh yeah, Daphne, she's in this episode. I forgot. We should probably have her say something. She hasn't said anything for like 15 minutes. So that is essentially the backdrop of this show. And to that end, let's talk about the time that they did a Christmas special.
Yay.
And Grace, you will love this because, well, let's get started and I will very soon say why you will love this episode. It begins on, yet again, a dark, snowy evening in what appears to be some sort of like mountainous or hilly town that is known as Winter Hollow. And in this town, we see a group of kids exploring deep in like the woods, or I guess adjacent to the town, just out and about, hanging out, getting excited for Christmas Eve a little bit later. And in the woods, they come across this giant snowman. It looks like a normal snowman, the big, like 3 boulders of snow, a nice carrot nose, the sticks coming out of the middle boulder for arms. And one of the kids, I think his name is Tommy, he is kind of like egging on the rest of the group, like, see, look, here it is. Let's play with it. I told you I found this big snowman in the middle of the woods. Like, I don't know who made it, but it's been here and we can have fun. And so all these kids are running around this snowman playing on it, and Tommy is like climbing up on top of it. But as he's climbing up, the snowman comes to life and it evilly starts laughing and
this
grinning.
Is a horror movie.
It's very scary. And it gets scarier. The carrot nose, like you can see in the almost in the moonlight, how it's actually very, very sharp and pointy. And the little button mouth and button nose of the snowman turns from a smile into a menacing grin. And the snowman,
horror movie.
It's a straight up horror movie, because the snowman then removes its head and just fucking chucks it, hurls it at these kids as they're running away. And the head is still evilly laughing with this like very pointy nose that like looks like it could just stab right through these children if it hits them. And this is the evil snowman. I guess really, yeah, his name is just in this town of Winter Hollow called the Headless Snowman.
Are you kidding me?
And Grace, you will love this episode because it is a direct tie-in to the legend of Sleepy Hollow.
Wow.
AKA the 1819 Gothic story by Washington Irvine. I will not go into that story because Grace herself has already educated us, the listeners of this podcast, and me on the legend of Sleepy Hollow and the story of the Headless Horseman, who is the main villain / monster, scary being in that legendary tale. Go back, it's callback to our episode. I did actually have to look it up because it's like, I want to reference it because it's a great episode. Everyone should go back and listen to it if you have not. And because it is important to know, I guess, kind of the history of that story. So episode 35 of our podcast entitled Halloween and Some Guy Without a Head. Go back and listen to it and then come back here.
And then get back here.
And then come right back here and then switch from Christmas to Halloween and then back to Christmas.
The Nightmare Before Christmas. They do it.
Christmas. They do it. Yeah. So we can do it too. No rules. But really the reason why I'm not going to talk about it here is because this is a Christmas episode, not a Halloween episode. Duh. And also because the Legend of Sleepy Hollow really has nothing at all to do with this episode. The writers just wanted to name the town Winter Hollow, and they wanted the villain to be able to take off his head and throw it at people. Other than that, it has nothing to do with Ichabod Crane. It has nothing to do with anything else at all. A horse, a horseman. Like, they just wanted those two details.
Yes. Interesting. Very specific.
Yes. Fine. So where does Mystery Inc. come into this whole town debacle? Well, that same evening, they happened to be making their way through the area on a very winding, icy, hilly road, driving through the snow. And they're on their way to actually spend their Christmas Eve, and I think their Christmas holiday in general, at Daphne's uncle's condo in the mountains of a town called Mills Corner. And it seems to me like Daphne's uncle will not be there. Like he's almost like Airbnb-ing his condo out so that Mystery Inc. can just like have a fun time, like besties all chilling for the holidays, not with their parents or their family, but taking a road trip far away to instead spend it with their best friends and their dog. Maybe they'll come into a mystery on the way and they'll need to all be together in case something happens. How shockingly convenient would that be?
Weird. And nothing happens. The episode's over. They have a great Christmas.
And it's over. They get to the condo. They share some eggnog and
all of their families show up.
Yep. Everyone comes in. They fly into town. It's a good time. And then they go home. I don't know what happened to that scary snowman who just almost killed those kids. He may have killed them and no one will ever know. Different town. Not Mr. Inc.'s problem.
Different problem.
Merry Christmas from Hanna-Barbera. So no, you could guess that is not the case. In fact, as Mystery Inc. is driving their van through these icy roads, everyone is in the car, very excited to celebrate, I guess this time away from family at the condo up in the mountains. Fred's driving, kind of swerving as he's struggling to like handle the elements, and Shaggy and Scooby are just in the back like wrapping gifts and everyone, and they're all excited. Christmas music is playing. It's just the season is bright and merry. But the excitement is deflated when the gang runs into essentially, a road closure, because the bridge that they need to take over this like canyon in the area for some reason to Mills Corner happens to be blown out. Essentially, like, I forget if they just have it like closed down for construction, or if you like zoom out and you actually see like half of the bridge blown up.
Oh my God. Okay.
I can't remember exactly, but the road is closed down and there's definitely no way for them to cross over. So the bridge being the only way they know how to get to Daphne's uncle's condo, they decide to turn back around and pull over into the nearby town, or like the town that they last passed by. Yeah. The town of Winter Hollow.
They were so close to not running into this mystery.
So close. They're like, damn, we thought that we were about to have a nice Christmas, or at least Scooby and Shaggy are clearly thinking this, like, come on, we were so close. This was about to be a Christmas miracle, not running into any ghosts or demons. Yes. But no. So they stop over in this town and they get out of their car. And as soon as they get out of the mystery machine, this group of children who we were very briefly introduced to before literally like runs right by them, damn near knocking them all over. Like, get the fuck out of the way. We're being chased.
We almost got murdered.
Yeah. They unfortunately they aren't that specific about what they're running away from, because everyone in Mystery Inc. is like, well, what the fuck was that about? And Shaggy, though, he points like, well, maybe he can answer it. And he points behind the rest of Mystery Inc. and they turn around to see a giant snowman just kind of awkwardly sitting in like a plaza in town across from like where they parked. He's just chilling. Yeah, thankfully. I don't think he's talking, but like, yeah, it's just the snowman sitting there, but also inauspicious. Why is the snowman
from before?
Yes, but not evil and menacing. But yes, it is the snowman from before, but at this point it's not moving around. So it just looks like a snowman that someone built in the middle of the city on this snowy day in the hills. Yes. Okay. So, and that is actually exactly what Vilma says after Shaggy points out the snowman. She's like, Shaggy, that's just a snowman.
Yeah, you dumbass.
You dummy. Look around us. It's fucking pouring snow right now. We almost crashed getting here because of the ice. What's also, so special?
It's a snowman.
It's a snowman.
What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna ask him? Okay.
Yeah. What's the plan?
So Velma, Fred, and Daphne clearly dismiss any concern that Shaggy is like expressing for this totally normal appearing snowman across the way. And the three of them walk into a nearby diner to look for help or assistance on how to get to Mills Corner. Meanwhile, Shaggy, which is kind of funny, like that Shaggy doesn't also run into the diner, knowing how much he loves to eat. Yeah, I mean, he's still feeling a little sus about the snowman. I guess he's like, I swear I didn't see it there when we pulled into here. So what the fuck is going on with the snowman? So he and Scooby are still kind of like looking at it and like get a little closer to it.
Which seems like a bad idea.
It does seem like a bad idea, because since they're like, okay, well, let's fuck around and find out. Well, they find out the snowman like animates itself, comes to life, and just like gets in their face and like grins evilly at them. So they run away, scared shitless.
Yes, good call.
Directly into the diner. Yes. And so when they get inside, I guess they don't have a chance to tell the gang what they saw out there, because as soon as they get in, they see that the gang is kind of being berated by this local guy named Jeb. No less. Jeb. He's like a kind of older, shorter guy he looks like like a miner from like 1949 going
Oh,
out
okay.
to San Francisco with like that, like the leather like
cap.
duster hat and like the coat and like maybe like a little scarf underneath, like hunched over.
Does
He's
like
like,
as a quick
we
side
don't need
note,
any more out of towners in here.
yeah, like do all of the animators of Scooby-Doo just like think that people in the service industry look like this? Because I'm thinking of like your Seattle episode of Scooby-Doo, like the people who worked at the bar, like had like the big like trench coat thing. Like they are just old-timey people always.
I guess. I don't know. Like, yeah, super stereotypical of what you think these people look like. But yeah, I mean, I guess they're like definitely trying to paint the town in a certain way.
Yes.
You know, like look at this guy. He's like lost in the past. He doesn't like the new folks in town because he is like telling them, you guys got it. We have too many newcomers here already.
Like, this also feels
adding to the stereotype.
Right, of like both adding to the stereotype and too real of like thinking like, yeah, like a lot of like ski resorts build right next to mining towns, old mining towns, and just don't give a poop about the people who they're just steamrolling into. So
some
social commentary by Scoobs.
Exactly. Indeed. And they build on the social commentary later. We'll talk about when we get to a little bit of the backstory behind this. What the fuck is going on with the snowman who is haunting this town?
We'll
talk about
I forgot that was the actual crime here.
You're like, what's happening? So yeah, no, it's actually just this xenophobic dude telling them, get these newcomers out. That's the real crime. Right. He's like the one who blew up the bridge to keep people from the other side coming in, but he didn't think about like, damn, people come from that way too, though.
Right, and they're always going to be stuck here now. I want them to keep going to.
This isn't working. Yes. So, in the middle of being berated by Jeb, Fred and Daphne are like, "Hey, dude, what the fuck is up with you? Where's your Christmas spirit?" And Jeb is like, "Huh." We don't. He like shudders at the hearing the word Christmas. Like,
Grinchy.
We don't celebrate Christmas around here. Winter Hollow doesn't do that.
The true crime.
And essentially, the truth, really though. Let's be real. Round them all up. Every parent in town, round them up.
An American.
Call in the feds. Something's wrong here. Yeah, they're not spending enough money in Winter Hollow. Capitalism is not being properly respected. So,
our true God in this country.
Yes, the almighty dollar.
Capitalism was born on this day.
Yes.
Died for our sins.
December 25th. That looks like a good day to do it. Boom. All right, never mind. We're going to stop right there. So anyway.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, guys. So, yes, Jeb explains that due to the town of Winter Hollow being frequently terrorized by the headless snowman for years and years on end, the town has essentially stopped celebrating Christmas because he always happens to come right before Christmas, like typically on Christmas Eve or like that week leading up to Christmas. And he just tears the town apart, going house by house, ripping bricks off from the chimney and just destroying the place. It's pretty terrifying the way that they show the snowman in action. And we'll talk about that in a moment too. So the sheriff of the town, her name is Sheriff Perkins. She happens to also be at this diner as Jeb is like kind of getting louder and louder and creating a scene, telling the story to these newcomers, like where you see everyone like slowly stop eating and like turning around and like, God, he's fucking doing it again.
We want these tourists. We want the tourism economy, Jeb. Stop ruining it.
The economy is fucking busted here because no one's coming. All right. Do you see how nice of a ski resort town this could be? Ain't nobody coming because Jeb keeps blowing up the bridges in town. Keeping us trapped here, keeping us like afraid of this damn monster.
Yeah, damn. Okay.
We can't even escape if we wanted to. So Sheriff Perkins comes over and like tries to calm down the scene and calm Jeb down. Like, okay, Jeb, calm down. You're gonna scare these kids. Take it easy. Too late, at least for Shaggy and Scooby. They're already fucking terrified. Yeah. And Sheriff Perkins warns the kids, don't listen to Jeb. He's got a reputation around this town. There's something wrong with that boy, let me tell you. It's actually very funny. She says he's about as reliable as a fox guarding a hen house. So,
Ooh,
which also though, I mean, like,
tension.
it depends. Like a fox, if the fox really wants the hens, like maybe it'll tell you the truth to get to the hens sooner. She could have
Well, like,
clarified that a little bit more, but I
if the
see what she was
fox
getting at.
is guarding the henhouse from other foxes so that the first
Yeah,
fox can have all the treats to themselves.
facts.
Yeah, maybe Jeb wants to
Um,
keep all the skiing to himself.
Yeah, exactly.
He
Jeb
wants to
actually knows how. He's a man of class. He actually loves skiing. He like throws off the like leather dirty clothes and has
It's
like
like
all
a
these Olympic
beautiful
medals.
full suit, like onesie, like all
Yeah,
like 80s skiers.
exactly. Like the very vibrant like pastel
Yeah,
colors.
exactly.
So as Sheriff Perkins is trying to calm down the scene, though, Jeb, he's still kind of going off and saying that the headless snowman indeed is real, and that there have been a number actually of recent incidents to prove this, saying that all these people around town have recently had their chimneys broken down and their houses destroyed, saying that this is evidence that the snowman is back and he's here to terrorize and ruin our holiday once more.
Okay.
So the sheriff, though, she's like, dude, again, you're just crazy. No snowman destroyed those chimneys. They were just like super freaking old because this town is super old and you keep blowing up bridges so we can't get new supplies in.
All of our tax dollars are going to this fucking bridge.
I know.
Not the
Jeb,
infrastructure.
damn it. Yeah,
in
stop
town.
what you're doing. Yeah. So Vilma, she interrupts all this back and forth between the sheriff and Jeb. And she's like, yeah, this is all nice and cool and well. And you're right, Jeb is probably a little crazy. But Sheriff, we really actually just stopped in here to find directions so that we could get around that busted bridge or that broken down bridge. So if you know of any detours or whatever, so we can get to Mill's Corner in time. And the sheriff, in response, gives Vilma the most ridiculous directions that would literally take them like 4 hours to get through. She's like, yeah, you're just going to want to like take the highway up to this like random abandoned farmhouse. And then you'll take that road for another 2 hours. And then you'll turn left at a farmhouse until you see whatever. And then you got to go upstate.
These are literally directions of like every
sending you to your murder.
Yeah, exactly. Every landmark I name is an opportunity to get murdered / another mystery.
Facts.
You aren't getting out of it.
You're not. And the gang realizes this because they're like, okay, to stop. They like cut the sheriff off. Like, let's just find a hotel here. We're gonna just stay the night in Winter Hollow, and then we'll either figure something out in the morning or we'll just have our holiday here instead. So they make their way over to what is probably the only hotel or like lodge or inn in the town of Winter Hollow, and it is called the Dewdrop Inn.
Cute.
And when it is, it's cute. It looks like a nice little bed and breakfast. And when they enter, the living space, surprisingly, is like full of guests. Like all the sofas are like just crowded. Everyone is taking up space in there. People are like huddled around the fire. And Daphne is like, I've never even heard of this little town of Winter Hollow. Why are there, how and why are there so many tourists here? Especially with people like Jeb scaring everyone
trying to scare
off.
people off.
And so the manager of the inn actually comes up to the gang. It's a man named Asa Buckwald. And he's kind of he's like a taller, bigger guy, and he has like black, thick, kind of curly hair and like a very deep voice. And kind of like a southern voice, like, oh, well, this just here is the inn of Winter Hollow. Everyone here is just a local. Like, where is this town? Are they miners? Are they
Appalachia?
It sounds
like the Rocky Mountains.
This is so random, but he actually sounds like, do you remember from Fairly Odd Parents, Dimmadome? The dude that wore the big, like tall, like 10-gallon hat who owned like everything in town.
Yes, name a big mustache too or something.
Yes, yeah, he always wore like spurs, like a cowboy.
Yeah, he was like
kind
of like
cowboy suit.
KFC.
Yes,
Colonel with the cowboy hat.
Yeah,
this
I'm
guy?
Doug Dimmadome, owner of the whatever Dimmadome. That's actually exactly what this guy sounds like. It just hit me
Weird.
totally random. Yeah, just to add to like where the fuck in the country is this? I
Yeah,
don't
very
know.
vague.
So anyway, this manager, Asa Buckwald, he comes up to the gang and tells them like, well, no, these are not tourists. These are actually townsfolk. These are all locals. And Velma notes like, well, wow, that's interesting that your business is booming with only locals around the holidays. Yeah. And Asa's like, yeah, well, this happens every year. It's a result of the headless snowman coming back. And, you know, that rascal every year, he comes and destroys houses in the town or whatever.
Oh, so it's like, so people are like running from their homes, basically.
Exactly. So he says, since their houses are destroyed, they need a place to stay because they can't leave with the holiday being right around the corner. So usually every year this happens where a bunch of them will just stay at the Dewdrop Inn, and it's, my business is booming. It's kind of nice for me, but sucks for their houses though.
Yeah, damn.
So the gang is able to get a room, like one of the last rooms available.
Lucky.
In the inn. Yeah. I wasn't going to say it, but it's pretty funny actually. So they ask if there's a room available. And Asa's like, well, I can show you the last one I've got. He opens a door. It's literally a fucking storage closet, Grace.
Is Daphne crying?
No. In fact, this is one of the first instances, at least in our coverage of What's New Scooby-Doo. Yeah, they give Daphne a personality. She like pulls out a an electric drill or whatever, and like puts on some goggles, and she's like, leave this to me. She like goes in the storage closet and closes the door, and you just hear like hammering and drilling and like sawing. And she opens it back up, and it's now this beautiful like 2-bedroom suite with like a decorated Christmas tree and like painted walls and a beautiful carpet. And Daphne's just like, a woman's touch. She's like, I don't watch all those home gardening shows for nothing or whatever.
HGTV.
Yes.
Yeah, I own it.
Exactly. It's owned by the Blake family. Wow. I have weekly meetings with what's her name from the Magnolia, whatever. Like, oh my God, Joanna. Yeah.
I taught them everything.
Like, I taught them everything they know. Yeah. So yeah, Daphne finally has a personality and is actually useful in What's New Scooby-Doo. We do love it. We do love it. So they're getting settled into this inn. And as they are, you know, just only moments later, they all start to hear these large, almost like explosion sounding and rumbling noises from outside nearby. And so they're all like grabbing their coats and scurrying through the hotel or through the inn to see what's going on out there. And they run outside and see that the chimney of a nearby house appears to have either collapsed or been totally blown out, pretty much exposing like a whole wall of this house is gone, exposing the inside of the house.
So it's not just like, oh, we knocked down a chimney or a couple bricks. It's like,
it's like a pile of bricks. I mean, you have 3/4 of a home or 3/4 of the walls of your home. Okay. Yeah. And I mean, maybe it's not like the whole 4th wall is gone, but like there's a massive gap where the chimney used to be. Yeah,
there's a hole in the home now.
There's a massive hole. Yes. Okay. This is structurally very dangerous. Yes, and understood. So the gang runs over there, and Sheriff Perkins is already on the scene investigating, like looking at this pile of bricks that's been left behind. And Vilma just like interjects, like, I don't care if the sheriff is already on this or not. I'm going to get straight to interviewing witnesses. And so the only witness, unfortunately, happens to be a young boy named Tommy, actually the same boy who happened to be climbing on the snowman at the very beginning of our episode today.
Interesting.
So Velma, calmly trying to calm his nerves, asked Tommy, hey, what happened here? And Tommy, he goes into flashback mode and he's like, well, I was sitting on the chair, looking out the window, waiting for Santa by the fireplace. And then next thing I knew, cold air started blowing through the chimney and through the fireplace, and the fire went out. And then the next thing I knew, the entire house was freezing cold. And I turned around and the headless snowman just appeared behind me, standing by the chimney or standing by the fireplace. But it wasn't just standing there as a snowman. It was standing there holding its head in hand, in its little stick hands, and started just, literally turned around and just like clawing with his stick hands at this chimney and fireplace.
Yeah, what kind of wood is he using on his hands? Tear down bricks.
It's intense. They look like claws. So yeah, it's like straight up just sticks, but they're like very sharp and pointy. And he's just like, just going in on this chimney, just like ripping the bricks out immediately, just like making it look easy. And so then Tommy like fades out, like he's like shuddering, like remembering like he destroyed the house. It was terrifying. And so Tommy, though, he's not really worried about the house. He's a kid. So his friend his first thought is, how's Santa gonna come without a chimney on the house?
This is the day Tommy learned there's no such thing.
There is no Santa. No. Mystery Inc. could not ruin the boys' day that much.
Oh, okay. Good.
So they say, you know what? You're right, Tommy. You've been through a lot, and you do indeed need to see Santa. They're like saddened by Tommy saying that this monster just keeps ruining the town's holidays, and how none of the kids in town have ever really had a Christmas because every year their chimneys fucking get ripped down by this snowman, this headless snowman.
Great.
So Fred, he's moved by this, and he immediately mobilizes Mystery Inc., promising little Tommy and Sheriff Perkins, he's like, who are you, kid? You never actually introduced yourselves at the diner, by the way. You just asked me for directions and then left.
And then
you did not like my response.
Yeah.
It's so like, don't worry, guys. We got this. We're going to solve this mystery. And so the gang, they follow the snowman's tracks into the woods behind little Tommy's house, until, you guessed it, the snowman sneaks up on them and actually flips it and reverses it and chases them through the woods.
Classic.
They're able to get away. Again, classic Scooby-Doo antics. And they regroup around the fireplace in the inn. Before I get to that, though, I do want to say also, like, the snowman does actually have tracks, technically, I guess, because
I was going to ask, is it just like a line?
To make it even more terrifying, not only does he have sticks for arms, he has like sticks for legs too, and they look like chicken or rooster like legs. Skirt and it's like little legs.
It pulls up like the snow, but it's little legs.
I wish. Oh my god, that'd be so funny. No, you just see like the three, snow boulders on top of little stick legs. but the legs are terrifying because they look like talons, like they look like chicken legs or something, but they're all just brown sticks. Weird. And so he's like actually running after them on these like stick legs, like these talons, like hopping over shit, running after them with claws, so making it even more terrifying. Monster-y. And to add to, like, they did actually have like tracks to follow in the woods, not just like a line from the snowman, like as it would be in Courage the Cowardly Dog.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah. No, they freaked him and actually gave him legs in this as if an evil headless snowman with the sharp carrot nose wasn't scary enough. They're like, let's give him like stick talons too.
Yeah, let's give him some knives.
This way. Cool. Awesome. This way he can throw knives and run after the kids rather than just like sliding through the snow.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And take his head off too.
Cool. Exactly. Awesome. So anyway, regrouped around the fireplace in the inn, we see all of Mystery Inc. trying to make sense of what the fuck is going on with this monster snowman attacking this poor town. And Asa Buchwald, the manager, he enters the room, bringing the gang like some cocoa or whatever to help them warm up, and to talk with him about anything that he may know about the legend of this headless snowman. And so Asa informs them that he's actually called in a friend of his who happens to have done extensive research on the headless snowman and on kind of essentially like all of the folklore and like tales and history of Winter Hollow. And this is a man by the name, pretty cool that they have that. Small town, gotta have your local historian as well. Exactly. And this guy, his name is Professor Higginson. Okay. And Asa explains that he's bringing in Professor Higginson essentially like to brief the teens, debrief with them on what they witnessed and what happened at Tommy's house. And also just so that he could share his knowledge with them and then like inspect the site of the recent attacks.
Right. Cool.
But before Professor Higginson arrives, we actually see more guests enter the Dewdrop Inn. Oh. And very sadly, it's Tommy and his family because their home was just destroyed. Oh, no. And so Tommy makes his way in like, Dad, will we be able to celebrate what here? Like afraid to even say it, like thinking the snowman just gonna like bust through the window right then and there. He's traumatized. He's traumatized. And the dad is just like, well, Tommy, we sure will do our best, won't we? He's like, Asa, I'm sure you heard we were hit. We were the most recent ones hit. Can you clear our room out for us? And Asa's like, of course, my good friends, come up, bring it in. Let's get you guys safe. And also, I would just like to point out randomly, because I was inspired by your last episode because you called out some pretty like big names in the voice cast of the 101 Dalmatians episode. He only has like that one line there, but as I was researching for this episode, I found out that the guy voicing Tommy's dad is none other than the legend Mark Hamill, aka Luke Skywalker from the Star Wars movies, and also like the Joker from the Batman animated series, and Skips from regular shows. I don't know. He had that one random. I guess he was in the neighborhood that day.
Yeah, I guess so.
They're like, hey, you can do voices. Can you just real quick sound like a stressed out dad on Christmas Eve for like 5 minutes? We'll give you like $500. Okay.
It's not like this was like in the 60s original Scooby-Doo before Star Wars. This was post Star Wars. Like
this was post Star Wars. Yeah, this was
very
2002.
Successful at this point.
Yes, exactly. Well, I would even argue that Mark Hamill, and this is a super tangent. I love this dude, though. He's in so many great shows. But I would argue that his voice acting career is as prolific, if not more, than like his Star Wars stuff. Because he's in like way more stuff than what I realized. Like
he's in a lot of animated voiceover stuff.
Yeah, interestingly enough. So anyway, just fun fact that he's in this episode for literally just that one line. And yeah, I don't know. I guess they're like, hey, he's around. I think he's down the hall filming something else. So just ask him if he can come in for this real quick.
Very interestingly, that like this episode, so I'm just thinking about on the other Scooby-Doo episodes we've covered of like, this is having like very, I mean, I guess, we've seen like, there are robbers, people like their safes were getting robbed in some episodes and stuff, but this is like a consistent other human beings besides like Mystery Inc. are being harmed. Not like we're being scooped. We don't want to come to like the fiesta in Mexico, but like our homes are being destroyed by a monster thing.
Yeah.
Like our livelihood. Like this is like a far reaching impact
exactly
going on.
Yeah, like a lot of people. There's a lot more at stake here. Not to say that stealing artifacts from an ancient Aztec pyramid, like there's not a lot at stake there, but like the impact of that is not directly seen.
Right. There's a very immediate, real impact happening.
Like we're literally seeing this family come into the inn because he's like, a wall was just blown out of our fucking house and it's Christmas Eve. We can't stay there.
Right. Also, it was done while my son was home. Like,
looking at like my son face this monster. Yes.
Yeah. So it's very intense. Go on.
Asa, please clear a room for us right now.
Yeah, we need this.
Traumatized.
Yeah.
So, at this point, the gang is also pretty sus on Asa because they're like, kind of weird that this businessman is just booming in business right around the holidays, and how his business is doing oh so well, don't you think? Which, like, fair point. Obviously, we're all always a little bit skeptical of big business. I don't know if I'd call Ace a big business here, but he is like bragging a lot about how well his inn does around this time of year.
Got it.
So at this time, after Asa is able to find a room for poor Tommy's family, we then see the Professor Higginson frantically entering the inn. And he's like taking his hat off and his scarf and jacket, like as he's walking in. Yeah, it's like, Asa, I came as quickly as I could. Let me describe this professor. He's like, I don't know, actually. He is a very typical professor looking guy, white guy, blonde, or not blonde, my God, brown, like comb over, mustache. We'll say a Charlie Chaplin looking one rather than another type of person looking one.
Oh no.
Kind of like smaller guy, a lot smaller than Asa, classic, like old historian, nerdy looking guy.
Yeah.
And yes, with the oddly maybe British accent, like he is
as vague as the location of the story is.
Exactly. But like where we clearly hear Jeb and Asa with like these big old booming minor town type of voices. We don't like your types around here. Professor Higginson walks in like, Asa, I came as quickly as I could. Please direct me right now to the headless snowman. Like, to the children. Where are they? I must know what happened. I've got to know for my research. But it's like in and out of a British accent, which makes it very hard to imitate.
Yeah. Pin down.
Exactly. I'm like, where is this man from?
What are you?
And he does, though. I guess Asa introduces the professor to the gang, saying that he teaches, near outside of a place called Mills Corner at like Mills University or something like that. And that he actually has written a lot of the books on the very bookshelves right next to them in the inn about the history of the town. And so Vilma, she grabs one off the shelf and is kind of flipping through it as the professor is also, talking about what he's researched before, saying that he's been trying to learn more about the ghost of a man named Blackjack Brody for many years now, and would travel through any sort of weather to the town of Winter Hollow to find out whatever he could. And Vilma cuts in at that point to explain, yes, Blackjack Brody, per your book here, he is the man.
Already read.
She's already like speed reader and done. This is the man, actually. Let me tell you, Professor Higginson, who wrote about Blackjack Brody, who Blackjack Brody is. He apparently is the man who is believed to be the headless snowman.
Okay.
And the professor is like, that is correct, Vilma. Indeed, Blackjack Brody is a man who was living in the town of Winter Hollow way back in like 1823. And it was on Christmas Eve in the year 1823 when another man by the name of Seamus Fagin rode into Winter Hollow. And Fagin had just immigrated to the country and brought with him a fortune in gold. But as Mr. Seamus Fagin made his way down this like dark, snowy, winding road into Winter Hollow, it was like on horseback and buggy. Well, he was Roman, actually. He's an ancient
not
Roman.
Irish as the name may have made you think.
Right. No. Plot twist in Scooby-Doo.
No stereotype.
So while he was making his way with his, horse-drawn carriage down this road, he was actually attacked, and it kind of sounds like beaten to death by Blackjack Brody, the infamous highway robber.
Oh, okay.
And so you see this like all being told through like a black and white flashback by Professor Higginson. And I'm pretty sure Blackjack Brody has like a wooden club. So pretty sure he like bludgeoned Fagin to death. He didn't just like stab him or shoot him. He had like a blunt instrument.
To death.
Yeah, and stole all of the gold from his carriage. So word about this murder, I guess, and robbery quickly spread around the small village, again in the year 1823. And an angry mob almost immediately formed throughout the town, searching for Blackjack Brody and hoping to bring him to justice. So they searched throughout the town for days and days, looking for the man, but he was nowhere to be found, and also looking for the gold that was believed to be murder victims. Classic. But none of this was ever discovered for days, until, however, a man noticed a snowman in the middle of the woods. He kind of broke from the rest of the search party and wandered into the woods and saw a snowman just kind of creepily, eerily standing there. And he started to like wipe the snow away and accidentally knocked the head off. And he saw that underneath was the frozen, solid, dead body of Blackjack Brody, the robber.
This is very violent.
It's very violent and very, I guess it's not graphic because they don't like show the blood or anything, but
still, anyway, are describing
they're describing it, yes. And apparently he hid himself in the snowman after killing Seamus Fagan and hiding the gold. Ooh. But since the town was persistent in looking for him and never really stopped, he was unable to get out, and he ended up freezing to death before he could make his way to safety and retrieve the gold that he had hid.
That's a horrible getaway plan.
Horrible getaway. So Professor Higginson says, yes, Blackjack Brody. We call him Blackjack, I guess, because he was like covered in soot or something when they found him. I guess he worked in the chimney. I don't know. But anyway, that is the tale of Blackjack Brody for you children who are randomly investigating this town in this area.
Welcome. I'll tell you everything.
Trying to imitate whatever friggin' accent he has. So at this point, Daphne's like, well, dude, this isn't just an urban legend, though. I know your books make it seem like this didn't really happen, but that snowman is real. And he just destroyed little Tommy's house. Yeah. Also, it's so funny. They keep calling it like Tommy's house. Like
his parents,
his parents. This kid doesn't pay shit with. He's a little spoiled little brat.
Only pay for one line from Mark Hamill that they had to make Tommy the main character instead of the dad.
Exactly. Oh, thank you for saying that too. I just remembered who Tommy is voiced by, actually.
Oh.
It's Junie, aka the little boy, Daryl Sabara from Spy Kids.
What?
Yes.
Like the little redheaded kid?
The little redheaded kid. He voices Tommy. Yeah.
Oh,
I meant to say that too. Like the voice cast in this episode is randomly really cool and fun. Yeah. Well, so he did get paid big bucks, I guess, because he has multiple lines in this. Wow. And it also, another side tangent. I am almost done with the episode, so I'll fill up more time with side tangents. It made me feel really old. Because I was like, 2002, what fucking year did Spy Kids come out? I remember watching that. But yeah, both of those actors are like kind of our ages too. Like, I think he may be a couple years younger. I know, but I was like, God damn, that makes me feel so old now to think. Because that guy, he's a father now. So there's also that. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, he's not little Tommy anymore. Now he actually knows how painful it would be to have your chimney ripped down on Christmas
He could
Eve.
play the dad now.
He could play the dad. Yes, because he's anyway.
Again, this is like that would be like the sequel to the horror movie, is like little Tommy grown up and now he's the dad trying to protect his kid from the trauma.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, more fun facts about this episode. As Daphne explains that little Tommy's house was just destroyed, Higginson is like, oh, you're right. One of the oldest houses in town. I have to go investigate quickly. And he like starts putting his coat and his hat on and everything. And as he's leaving, Asa makes a good point, like, oh, you're right. Tommy does have one of the oldest houses in town. I guess second only maybe to Jeb. I think his house is a little bit older. And so Higginson runs out of the inn, and the gang, they're like, let's not go back to Tommy's house to investigate. Let's go check out Jeb's house. You know, that old creepy guy who clearly hates us. Let's go see what his house has to offer. And that's exactly what they do. They technically knock, but when they knock, it like opens the front doors.
like,
and so they all
"That's a welcome."
They're like, hey, we'll just come on in. So
Oh, no.
technically, actually, first they ask if anyone is home before they make their way in. But when no one responds, they make their way in.
Right on it.
So I guess technically the first straight up crime of the show, Mystery Inc. breaks into poor Jeb's house, breaking and entering.
Crime by them. We did see a house get destroyed.
True. We assume, that it was the snowman. That's true. We don't know if Tommy's telling the truth or not. He could just be.
Tommy seems like an unreliable
the house is
witness.
Yeah,
for sure.
For all we know, the house is structurally unsound. Like the sheriff said, it's just super fucking old and the chimney just fell.
Oh, true.
She's still working the case. We don't know yet. Mystery Inc. is interfering as per
innocent until proven guilty.
Exactly.
All around. You're right.
So no one says that they're home at Jeb's house, and they go ahead and barge inside anyway, but so that they can like write him a nice little note and leave it on his office desk, letting him know that he is in danger. Super sketchy. Thank you. Would you want to get home to like a dark, cold house, go into your office and just see a note that says, Jeb, run for your life. You're in danger, with like nothing else? Or even if it was like signed Freddie Jones, like, Jeb doesn't fucking know your name.
That you still came into my home unannounced. You touched my like pad of paper and pen. This is you wrote
me a fucking note. I would immediately be calling Sheriff Perkins, like, excuse me, someone has broken into my home. You need to like immediately get the dogs out and find who did this.
None of this is okay.
Mystery Inc. did not read the room as per usual. So I will admit, though, they did say that they didn't just say he's in danger. They did say that the headless snowman appears to be targeting the oldest houses in town, but doesn't make it any less sketchy that someone broke into his house and like touched his shit.
Still
and left
feels
him
like a threat.
Yeah, it absolutely does.
He was like, why don't you just go back to the diner and tell him?
Yeah, he was there. I mean, whatever.
Anyways,
they're teenagers, Grace. They don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Any
chance they can get to break into someone's house.
So we know Freddie loves grave robbing. This is one step removed. He loves.
So anyway, as they're leaving this note in Jeb's house, the lights, of course, go out. And cold air immediately blows throughout the house, appearing to come from the fireplace nearby. And as the kids like start to figure out like, oh shit, something must be wrong, they turn around and they see none other than the headless snowman who has just burst into the home, immediately rips off its head and just like chucks it as per usual at the gang, I think. Or maybe he just like rips it off to show like, haha, see, it's me. I'm headless. I'm scary. Boo, run.
I have no head.
And so, yes, the gang, they all like book it around the house and just hide in various places as the snowman furiously makes his way in and just starts again, just as he did at little Tommy's house, tearing apart this fireplace and chimney brick by brick, ferociously like roaring as he's doing it. And somehow the gang, I think like Scooby sneezes or something and blows their cover of where they're all hiding. And so classic chase ensues with the snowman running the teens out of the house, but leading them into the nearby woods.
Oh, no.
The gang, though, they're used to this. They get chased all the time by terrifying adults in costumes. So they're able to escape and regroup elsewhere in the woods and like catch their breath. But weirdly, as they're catching their breath, Sheriff Perkins just like pops out of like the trees and the bushes nearby. Like, thought I heard some commotion. Oh, I should also say she randomly has like a Minnesotan accent, so adding to the ambiguity.
Is this town?
She's like, sorry, I thought I heard a commotion in the area, so I came to check in on you.
She's actually just like a Canadian sheriff, which is why she's a Mountie, so nice and letting them come investigate.
She kind of does have like that. It's not red, but it is like that beige, with the
hat.
Mountie type hat. Yeah. She looks like a park ranger essentially.
Wow. Okay.
So
Incredible.
yeah, a little bit of inspiration there, probably from the Royal Mounted Police.
Yeah.
And so Velma and the gang, they're like also kind of sus on the fact that Sheriff Perkins is so quickly able to like keep popping up whenever or shortly after the snowman appears.
Yes, indeed.
So they're like building cases, against all of these locals. Right. And they go back to the inn after this chase and this scare. And they're putting together all of their notes. They're saying, all right, Asa is like super profiting off of the headless snowman being here.
Mm-hmm.
The sheriff happens to keep showing up every time that the snowman appears, which also like, okay, yeah, because she's fucking doing her job as police officers should be. Yeah, if there's a crime, they need to be there immediately.
Yeah, we can like argue both sides of
exactly
so far. Okay.
Yes. And then they also note that Jeb really doesn't want visitors in town. So maybe he's trying to scare people away / also scare people into staying because they can't go anywhere because the bridge is blown out.
Yeah, they have to stop traveling. Yeah.
So Vilma is like, well, let's perhaps read through more of Professor Higginson's books and see if there's anything else we can find out about this local legend of the snowman. And so she opens one up and hands it to Fred, and they're all reading together. And she notices that one of them is called Local Legends of New England. And it's written by not just Professor Higginson, but Professor William Fagan Higginson, PhD, no less.
Oh, okay.
And Vilma's like, interesting. The name Fagan must be popular around these parts.
Whatever these parts are.
Wherever the fuck these parts. Minnesota, San Francisco, Gold Rush. I don't fucking know where we are. Upstate Maine with all the snow and mountains. Yeah, Canada. Where the fuck are we? I'm not sure. But Fagan is a popular name around these parts. Okay. So Freddie then flips open to the chapter of that book about the headless snowman, which says, Grace, that Blackjack Brody was laid to rest in the Winter Hollow Cemetery.
Of course, Freddie flipped right to that page.
Of course he did. AKA he saw that page earlier and was like, oh,
he's dog-eared it.
Like, exactly. It's like, now's a good time for me to bring this up casually. Hey, gang, we should go investigate the cemetery where this guy happens to be buried.
Am I right? Freddie, why do you have a shovel out already?
What? Oh, it's for the snow around the tires. So we can get our way out. But, we could also dig up his grave with this. You make a great point, Daphne. Here.
Yeah, you're right. This was your idea.
Yeah, he like also has like a headlamp on too. Like, it's dark out. It's snowy, right?
I always have this.
Yeah, and so Fred tells the gang that they've got to split up because Shaggy and Scooby. I didn't mention it earlier, but like during the chase, I think they like fell into a frozen lake or something, and so they're like super cold and like traumatized from being followed by this monster. So Fred's like, Shaggy, Scooby, you guys have done enough. You chill here. Okay. We all knew how he was going to split up the gang anyway, as soon as he found out there was a cemetery there. So
I'll be here. Oh, you guys want to come to the cemetery too?
Oh, Velma, Daphne, fine. You guys also, sure. I was going to say all of you chill at the inn while I go check out Blackjack Brody's grave and see.
It's cool. It's like totally fine.
Cool.
Yeah, no,
it's totally fine. Yeah, I mean, cool. You guys can hold the lamps. It is dark. Thanks. Thank you.
It's easier to dig with two hands. I mean, I think it would be easier to
it is.
Let's just
in
go.
Theory. Yeah. Anyway, cool. So yeah, add this to his list of cemeteries, graves robbed, exactly, resting places desecrated.
Great.
So Shaggy and Scooby, they stay back at the inn. They're trying to stay warm by the fire, chatting about how scary this ghost is and how it's indeed a Christmas miracle that Fred allowed them to stay back and stay warm and essentially just chill. Exactly. While the rest of the gang handles all the creepy stuff. But as they're talking about this, of course, the lights in the inn go out. And cold air again fills the inn, and the fire goes out in the fireplace, and you just see all this cold air blowing in their faces. And the boys look up and they see none other than the headless snowman, who has appeared right there at the bed and breakfast.
Great.
And he immediately starts chasing the boys again, like, oh, hey, I remember y'all from the last house. Let's go. I didn't get you last time.
Yep.
And this time he does straight up take off his head and like a fucking
shucks it.
Can't even think of what sport that, like dodgeball style, straight up just like launches it right at them. But they're quick. They're athletic, as we've talked about in our Scooby arcs in the past. They're able to escape, and they don't get hit by the dangerous dodgeball snowman's head. But we see finally just how sharp this carrot nose is, as it literally punctures a hole into the wall and like sends cracks going through the wall. No. So if that had hit Scooby or Shaggy, they most certainly would be dead. Impaled and not celebrating Christmas the next morning. So they run out of the inn and they head into, again, the woods. I don't know why they keep running there. It's obviously the snowman's element. But yes, they're like weaving in and out of the woods and around town, jumping over rooftops to escape the snowman, who again is terrifyingly on like twig talon legs, running after them, jumping over roofs after them. Not happy. And they eventually run into town. So they get off of one of these roofs and they're like, okay, we got to find somewhere to hide. But they see that Velma, Fred, and Daphne, apparently they either were in and out of the cemetery very quickly, or they haven't even made it there yet, because they're still just like in the town, kind of scoping out the area, thinking of a way that they can trap the snowman if he happens to approach them. And Fred notices that, well, there are a lot of these, like, those, especially when COVID started and dining moved outdoors, even in the winter, they had like those tall heater lamps. Oh yeah. They look like lamps with the little like ring at the top that just, So Fred notices a bunch of those. I guess maybe he steals them from a nearby resort and like lines this town plaza with them. Okay. And it's like, okay, cool. So we've got this. This is going to essentially turn into like a heater box of sorts right here in the middle of the town. Okay. And if we can just trap the snowman in the middle of it, then we'll just melt him. Yeah.
Okay. An interesting approach.
Guess. Very interesting approach. I guess maybe Daphne like talked him out of going to the cemetery on the way. Like, dude, are you just taking us to grave rob again? There's no reason for us to go to Blackjack Brody's grave. They like realize it halfway there, like, wait a minute, Freddie. Turn around. We need to find a way to catch this dude.
He's like whistling, like as happy as can be. And they're like, Fred, not again.
Freddie, no, we're not doing this. Last time we literally almost got in trouble. Like really, we almost got arrested.
Everyone's watching us right now. The sheriff is always like 2 seconds away from us. Yeah. Wait until after we solve the crime to rob this stupid grave.
It's Christmas tomorrow. The last thing I want, Daphne is saying this, like the last thing I want is to have to call Daddy to bail us out of this podunk town's jail. Again, the night before Christmas. So come on. So Shaggy and Scooby, as they're running away from the headless snowman, they see Velma and Fred and Daphne like setting up this trap in the plaza. It's kind of like perfect timing, because as Shaggy and Scooby are running and they're getting this trap, the others are getting this trap set up. Fred's like, okay, cool. So we got the mechanics here. Now all we need to do is get Shaggy and Scooby to lure the snowman into the trap.
The bait,
and it's perfect. They didn't even have to go back to the inn to get Shaggy and Scooby, because they were already in action, running to the gang, the rest of the gang, without even knowing that a trap was in the works. And so the rest of the other three, Fred, Velma, and Daphne, they kind of like scatter and hide, and they let Shaggy and Scooby lure the snowman into the trap that has been set. And once the snowman runs into the plaza and quickly realizes that he's surrounded by all of these heater lamps, he tries to actually run away through the opening that he came in through. But Freddie somehow was able to very quickly hop into the mystery machine and block that little exit/entryway. So the snowman's like panicking, running around in circles, trying to get away from all this heat, but he immediately starts melting. And
Nice.
Very hilariously, the writers have the snowman in like this kind of like robotic, distorted voice, like, I'm melting, I'm melting.
Wait, has
like,
he spoken before this?
I don't think he says
Kinda, like,
any like full
screams.
words. Yeah, he's just like roaring before
Weird.
this. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think he has actually said any words. So yes, now we were like, oh, he can talk.
Yeah. Okay.
This is even more
Interesting.
terrifying now.
Yeah.
But it's also just funny because it's like a direct quote from The Wizard of Oz.
Yep.
Yeah, with the witch.
Where
Anyway,
she is
so
melting. Yes.
funny how they did that. So anyway, yeah, the snowman has now melted and they are able to like, or melted enough to where they're able to like knock the head off and see who exactly is
Ooh.
underneath and inside. And Grace, would you like to guess who is the headless snowman of Winter Hollow?
I would, because there's a lot of
Mhm.
people who have motivations here,
Mhm.
but also a lot of
Mhm.
people whose motivations could be, or whose situations can be interpreted as a motivation when it's just not at all. Because
Right.
like, yeah, the inn owner could be a motivation because he doesn't ever get business here because everyone goes to the other town. And so this is one time a year he can get funds in.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like he could just be being a good Samaritan and maybe like, yeah, he's just
Yeah.
housing his community when this horrible shit is happening. On the other hand, the sheriff like doesn't have a lot of crime in this town ever. So it's like, are they trying to cut her funding? Yeah. And so all of a sudden she's like, I need something
Yeah, good point.
consistently. Yeah. To ensure that I don't lose my job. But at the
Mhm.
same time, she could just be really good at her job and is always on the scene.
Mhm.
We've
A few
got
good apples.
yeah, we've got Jeb, who clearly like doesn't want people coming through town, so he always makes it super spooky. But
Mhm.
again, this made the gang stop in town because of the bridge situation. But maybe usually it's like people in surrounding towns have just heard of the spooky thing, the spooky snowman, and so they know not to come. But at the same time, he could just legitimately not want his town to be taken over by by tourist economy, and he has nothing to do with the snowman. Yeah, he's just upset about people coming in and ruining his town and the real estate there.
Mhm.
So I just talked
That is
myself
tough.
in and out of every person here.
It's tough. And I understand if you just want to leave it at that, and fine.
No,
Yeah.
I want to
Okay.
guess. I want to guess that it's Jeb because he seems real grumpy
He does. Yeah.
about all of
Okay.
it.
Okay. Fair.
Yeah, and desperate.
Well,
He seems like he's been pushed to desperation.
Yeah.
And that he
yeah.
really believes in the snowman.
Yeah, true. Like almost a little too much. Like,
Yeah.
bro,
He's
chill.
really
It's almost
about
like you're trying to convince us that he's real too. Like,
yes.
we have our belief systems, buddy.
Yeah.
Take them
Back off.
elsewhere.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, no, it was
Oh.
not Jeb.
Who was it?
It was indeed actually a metal robotic cone on the inside of the snowman.
What?
Just kidding. And well, not just kidding. It was indeed that. But Velma is able to use her tech into whatever to open the cone, exposing none other than Professor William Fagan Higginson.
Oh, I didn't even put him on my
Operating.
suspect list. I forgot about that nerd.
I didn't want damn nerds. It's always fucking them, fucking
The
shit up for everyone
nerds.
else. Yeah. And the kids also did not initially have him on their suspect list. As I noted in the script and in the story, and as you even ran through, Jeb, Asa Buckwald, and Sheriff Perkins were the very likely suspects and culprits at first.
Yes.
But once they get back to the end, actually, before they get back to the end, when Velma like sees that it's the professor, he looks just all sad, like, oh, Dawn. And Velma's like, Professor, it's time for your lecture. I like don't want to laugh at it, but I did.
But it's pretty good.
And
Dude, he's trying to sell books.
To admit it. Honestly, that's kind of like, if we were to wildly speculate, that is ultimately what I would have said. But
oh my God.
He explains.
Okay, go on.
So I guess because the sheriff was not there, because Mystery Inc. took the law into their own hands to resolve these crimes and solve this mystery, they decide to bring Higginson back to the inn to explain himself.
Okay.
But they do call in Sheriff Perkins and she joins them at the inn. So Higginson is explaining to Mystery Inc. and Asa and Sheriff Perkins and I believe Jeb and like Tommy's family, essentially the whole town, since they're all there at the end.
The lecture.
That's right.
Lecture hall.
His lecture, right? Everyone take notes. Here's some history of
Christmas lecture.
For you. Yes. Merry Christmas. Literally, this is why everyone hates nerds and professors.
I'm just trying to have a good holiday. Damn,
a little Christmas knowledge. Yeah. So Higginson explains that in all of his years of research about the town of Winter Hollow and all of the legends and folk tales in the town, that he found out that Blackjack Brody, when he robbed Seamus Fagin, in 1823, Blackjack Brody, he concealed the stolen gold in the town before hiding in the snowman in the woods and freezing to death. And Professor Higginson deduced that the hidden gold was somewhere in a chimney in the town, which is why Blackjack Brody, which is why Blackjack Brody was covered in chimney soot, and which is why the old houses were being targeted, because those were the ones there originally in 1823 when the murder and gold robbery and Blackjack Brody's death occurred. So Higginson claims that the gold in these chimneys is rightfully his because the man who was murdered, Seamus Fagin, was his great-grandfather. Yes, his great-grandfather. Thus the name Seamus Fagin Higginson. I guess no one in the town actually looked at who wrote the books.
Literally no one in the town read the books. They're like,
they're like, I don't know, this guy, he wrote a book about us. We ain't reading folks around here, but we love it when someone talks about us. So we love this professor. Velma was the first person, and like Fred to be like, oh wait, this dude has the name of the guy who was murdered. He sounds like someone who would be vengeful,
right?
Of that murder. Yes.
Damn.
So Higginson says that he believed that this gold was in these chimneys, and that to hide or cover his search of people's chimneys for the gold that he believed was rightfully his, he revived this legend of the headless snowman and used it as a way to like still illegally, but nonetheless break into people's houses in disguise. And he had to like send refrigeration, whatever stuff through the houses, which is why it would always get cold before he appeared, so that his snowman suit wouldn't melt in the houses. So it's kind of funny. They like paint him as a history nerd, this professor. But it turns out he's also like a scientist too. Yeah, because he's in this like temperature controlled like robotic cone inside, like controlling this snowman. He created this pipe or hose that he sent.
Snow mech suit.
He's like, I'm ready for my next adventure. And so Higginson in all of this, he's like, all this time I just wanted to make my great grandfather proud, but instead I ended up retrieving nothing but bricks. I'm sorry, I just have to do his accent because it's so funny how they make him so like posh and proper. So I'm so sorry. Foiled again. What have I done?
What have I done?
I can't believe all of this for nothing. And so when Professor Higginson mentions like that all he's retrieved from all of this crime he's caused is nothing but a bunch of bricks, Velma and Fred immediately have a light bulb, like, holy shit, we need to go back to Tommy's house right now and look at those bricks from the chimney. And so they all go, and very kindly of Sheriff Perkins, like you said, Probsky's a Canadian Mountie, doesn't really know how things happen in America. She brings fucking Professor Higginson with them. Like they all go. He's not in handcuffs or anything. Yeah. So they all go to inspect one of his most recent crime scenes. And when they arrive, Velma picks up the bricks and starts wiping them off, like, put a little elbow grease into it. And we see none other than gold underneath all of the layers of built up soot and dirt.
Whoa.
So gold was in fact in these chimneys, or at least in the chimney in Tommy's house.
Wow, Tommy's gonna
Higginson
get
Exactly. And yeah, Higginson doesn't get shit at all because he had to commit crimes to do this. Just kidding. We'll get to that in a second.
Wait, what?
So at first, Higginson is super sad and ashamed. Like, and so the gold slips through my hands once again, I guess. I guess I'll have to go to jail for all the trouble I've caused this poor town. Yet another reason to hate Christmas. Woe is me.
Whoa,
Woe is me. I'm so ashamed of my actions. Was like, dude, stop gaslighting these people. Like, no.
You fucked up their houses.
You're fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, poor little Timmy, he's too young to understand what gaslighting is, and he doesn't pay bills, so he doesn't actually understand the severity
Gold mine
of
they're
the
sitting on,
damage.
literally.
Yes, the severity of this debacle.
Oh no.
And Tommy, he goes up to Higginson and he's like, I feel really sorry for what happened to your family and your cursed family history. And he turns and looks at his parents and says, Mom, Dad, can't we forgive Higginson this year? Yeah, like this kid, he'll get it when he understands how to pay bills again, which is why it's funny. Little Junie from Spy Kids, he's grown up and a dad now, so he could definitely play this role a lot better. Like in a sequel now, like, yeah, no, I fucking know what it costs to build a house.
You have to rebuild our whole goddamn house.
We are the night before Christmas, no less. We are not forgiving this man. So Higginson, he's like, oh no one would want to forgive me for all the damage I've caused.
Okay,
but Tommy,
playing the victim.
Exactly, again, gaslighting. Tommy, again, he takes off his scarf and hands it to Higginson, who clearly is cold, not wearing his winter jacket out there, only wearing his professorial blazer and vest underneath. And Tommy's like, I forgive you, Professor. And so, moved by the Christmas spirit and the kind heart of Tommy, the child's heart, Jeb also brings himself to apologize to Professor Higginson for destroying Jeb's home and ruining the things inside. And the sheriff also decides, well, I guess if these people aren't pressing charges, there's nothing I can do.
That's true, I guess.
So she lets the professor take the gold, noting that it is indeed rightfully his.
By what right?
I don't know, birthright. He hasn't even shown any proof that he is actually related to
but I owned
Seamus
this
Fagan.
home.
Yeah, exactly. Like, dude, I don't know how the law works in Canada.
Property rights in this
sheriff. But yeah, this is our property. I don't see any title to this gold anywhere around here. Okay. Statute of limitations is up anyway from 1823. It's been like over 100 years since that happened. And if you
had the paperwork for this right, you could have just gone through the legal system to get your gold out of the house.
You didn't need to do all of this, like haunting the town. No. And I think that in hindsight, Professor Higginson realizes this, like, damn, these people are a lot nicer than I thought they would be. Like,
just asked them.
They probably would have just let me in here if I had just nicely asked. So he, in turn, Higginson, after the sheriff lets him take the gold and keep the gold, Higginson proclaims that the gold, in fact, belongs to the whole town, and he apologizes for ruining so many homes and so many holidays for so many years for the townsfolk. And he straight up just starts handing gold bars out to everyone, including Mystery Inc., by the way. And if I were the sheriff for like Jeb, I would be like, whoa. These are the you got here. Hold on. Excuse me. That's 5 bars of gold going to waste. But nonetheless, it's perfect because, the sheriff does note too, or I think maybe Asa Buckwold, the manager, notes too, like, oh, this is perfect. You're the richest dude in town. Now you can start, paying for everyone's houses to be repaired. We can finally celebrate Christmas here once again. And it is implied that that is what Higginson is going to let them do with the money, or that's what he's going to do with the money. He will fix all the damage he's caused. Sorry about it, y'all. But you still got to stay in the inn because, like, the bridge is out, so we still can't get the bricks and the construction materials in time. So it probably won't be until after New Year's till construction starts. I said I would pay for your home reconstruction. I'm not paying for your inn bill. So hope you guys can figure that out.
And while you still pay for your mortgages and rent.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm only paying for the repairs, but it's okay. That's enough for the town. They all gather around the Christmas tree in the middle of the town plaza, taking in all of its beauty, hand in hand, I think probably singing carols or some shit, and excited to celebrate Christmas morning the next day. And that's the end.
Wow. So I want to say real quick that I thought before that very, very end, passing out the gold part, I was like, okay, so the writers have made this like it's not about the gifts and gold. It's an anti-capitalist version of Christmas. It's a very Grinch version of Christmas. And then he was like, but money will make it all better and forgive my crimes, right?
Exactly right.
And so then it came back around to that
the
side
almighty
of
dollar.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Great job.
Thank you.
What a wild ride that was.
A wild ride. Yeah. With the chicken leg snowman. It was terrifying.
The chicken leg snowman. Wow.
Yeah, terrorizing the town. Yes. But just like that, we see how Mystery Inc. celebrated Christmas Eve and how they will, I guess, they're like, fuck that condo in Mills Corner. Yeah. We're just going to stay here, I guess, at the Dewdrop Inn. These people need us. I mean, they gave us gold. So,
I mean, yeah,
Merry
we got
Christmas.
some gold, so.
Yeah. I wonder if that's enough money for them to fix the bridge now, too. Probably. Yeah,
we should have looked up the price of gold in 2002.
Yeah, right. What's the exchange rate? Yeah. How much was that worth? Yeah. And so that is a Christmas Eve tale for your Christmas Eve Saturday. Wow. For those who celebrate the holidays. We hope you enjoyed. We hope you're having a wonderful Christmas Eve today. We hope you have a wonderful Christmas Day tomorrow, or I don't know, whatever day y'all are listening to this episode. We hope it's just a good day all around. So
yeah, we hope you have a good day.
Yeah. So we will be back next week, though, with another winter themed episode. Grace will be telling us for New Year's Eve, I believe, from one holiday to the next. Man, what a great time of year this is indeed. Yep. But until then, Grace, who should the wonderful people out there tell about this podcast?
Well, I hope that on this time of holidays and celebrations, you are with folks that you love, whether it be family, chosen family, friends, whatever it might be. So tell those that you are spending the holidays, no matter what holiday it is in December. Tell the people that you are spending the holidays with about this podcast.
Yeah, perfect. And yes, so whether that be your friends or your family, or in my suggestion, I will say, if you happen to be at a bed and breakfast or an inn somewhere, tell the innkeepers and, the other people there at the bed and breakfast. I know oftentimes you do like meal time together with the other people in the B&B, or maybe sit around the living room and just chat it up and just tell them like, hey, if they seem like they'd be into it or not, honestly, who cares? We're, as per usual, trying to expand our listener demos. So
exactly,
tell them too.
Give it a try. You don't know what they like. You just met them.
Yeah. Maybe you'll make a new friend. Maybe you'll scare someone away. Depending on your outlook on life, either of those could be a win. So
exactly. So boom. You're welcome. That's our gift to you.
Merry Christmas and happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Bye.
See you next week. Thanks for tuning in to Saturday Morning Mysteries.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share, rate, review, leave us a like, and drop a comment. We post episodes every Saturday and bonus tune tangents whenever we feel like it. So please subscribe so you don't miss the shenanigans.
And if you want to follow us on YouTube, click the bell under the YouTube subscribe button to receive notifications when new videos are posted.
And if you want to subscribe to the podcast, we have no idea what you're listening to us on, so just hit the big subscribe button on whatever app you're using. We believe in you.
Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at SatmornMist, all the abreves, and let us know if you have any episode or show requests by emailing SaturdayMorningMysteries@gmail.com.
Thanks to Jenna Kendall for the logo design and to Ava Sakiki for the music used during this week's episode.
See y'all groovy kids next week on Saturday Morning Mysteries.